Welcome back to FrostCast, now episode 2 of our season 2, whatever you want to call it. Welcome back to the coldest, the chillest, and sometimes the most philosophicalist War Machine podcast out there. I am your host, Ice King, joined by Ross.
Hey, everybody.
And our guest for the day is Matt.
Hey, everybody.
Matt is from our little local area. I met him down here playing at Atlantis. If you want to give us a little intro about your hobby, career, goals, or whatever, just what do you do as a hobby person and what games do you play?
Yeah, man. How far back do you want me to go, and how much time do you want me to talk about it?
If you came out of the womb painting models, I want to hear about it.
All right. So I grew up kind of hopping around a little bit with the Navy parents or dad in the Navy. But I spent a lot of time in upstate New York in the middle of nowhere where there was like 200 people total. So the hangout spot was at Kmart because my grandmother worked there. So I spent a lot of time at Kmart, and they sold Magic the Gathering packs. So I was getting Magic before I could even like really read and know what it was. So I actually, very first hobby, anything I got was a booster pack at Tempest. And I still, like, I have it framed. I'm looking at it right now. Framed Dark Banishing. And after seeing that, I was like, this is for me, even though I was like 7 at the time. So I was collecting Magic, not even really understanding or knowing that it was a game. Pokemon comes out at this point, living in Virginia Beach. First time ever going to a comic shop. I think you guys are probably a little bit younger than me, but Pokemon is what brought everybody to the comic shop for the first time. While there for Pokemon, learned that Magic was a game. Started playing Magic like immediately. I got hooked on that. And then a game called Mage Knight came out. Pretty much immediately from the time Mage Knight came out to the time it ended and got killed by Topps, was playing it like 3 to 4 tournaments a week, even as a kid. It's like the comic shop was right down the street from middle school and high school and my house. So I'd go to school, go to the shop, was playing in like 3 to 4 competitive tournaments. We had a pretty good competitive scene here. Immediately jumped into that, started winning, won regionals, won some of the invitationals to Gen Con. Couldn't go, obviously, because I was a kid. Still playing Magic. Actually, I started, like, I was making more money playing Magic than I was from, like 15 to, like, 24-ish. I made more playing Magic than I did at my actual job. So that was, I was an actual professional Magic player, which was pretty cool. I was sponsored to play Call of Duty for a little bit during that time period, like in the early days of it didn't even exist.
Jeez,
Black
Ops.
Gamer. Oh, like OG Black
original,
Ops?
Original OG Black Ops. Got sponsored by like online store to play and like pimp their online store in COD lobbies. So all I did was stream, or not stream, like streaming didn't exist.
Yeah.
It was play Magic Online, real life Magic, and Call of Duty at the time. First ever like Warhammer miniature painting project was 6th edition Goblin Regiment. And I actually, this is a crazy story. This is one of the very first goblins I ever got. Of course, it's unpainted.
Classic.
So, very, very first War Machine figure I got was that regiment. That's the only one that's still alive, which is also a crazy story that I'll get to. So it's to get out of Magic and bring it back into the miniatures. Started like buying the books around like 4th edition, 5th edition. Didn't get any models until the Goblin Regiment. In this area, nobody actually played Warhammer Fantasy. They only played Wartime. Oh, are you guys good?
You're good. Keep talking. Keep going.
Okay, cool. So they only played Wartime. So did a bunch of Wartime, got into 40K around 6th edition. In 2012, I ended Magic, stopped playing it. It started to suck really bad around then. I think the game is terrible now. But sold all my Magic cards and was able to buy a house. I can probably a lot of people talking about Magic. But yeah, I sold my collection and was able to do a down payment to buy a house. So like I was in pretty deep. Like I said, I was making a ton of money pushing Magic and like winning stuff.
Do you ever have any of those like old illegal cards that like are worth $1 million now?
It's like when I think about it, if I would have kept it all and sold it during COVID, like I would have made a disgusting amount of money. But also my house has like gone up in so much value in the time. So it's like, yeah, I think it's like same. But yeah, I think about that a lot actually. And what's crazy is literally everything I owned except my Magic cards got stolen in 20. I took some notes. Everything I owned got stolen in 2014. So I was moving. I had to move in with my parents in 2014 because I had a business that failed because a business partner embezzled 50 grand and I got audited by the IRS.
Double bad.
So like I can tell a bunch of crazy stories, but I had to move back in for a year, and I put all my stuff in a storage shed, and in the process of moving back into my own apartment at the oceanfront, and like the 2-week period, all of my stuff was in the storage shed. It got wiped out. So like
oh my god.
I had my Magic cards with me because I just always had them with me. But like I lost it. Like it's crazy. I even have that goblin because I lost like all my Warhammer Fantasy stuff, all my 40K stuff, all my clothes, like all my when I say I lost everything, like I literally just have my Magic cards. Yeah. So in like 2014, I started over, and
I bet some of us wish that would happen.
Yeah, it's weird because like when it happened, it was bad. Like it was a couple of days of kind of being in shock, but then afterwards, it was like really freeing. And I don't know, it was weird. It was crazy. There's a lot more to that. I don't want to get into it.
You're good.
But the block wasn't busted off. I'll word it that way. So
nice.
So anyway, yeah. Right around that time, I think AOS 1.0 came out.
Mm-hmm.
So, and that's really when my like problems began because up until that point, I didn't paint that goblin, but everything I owned was painted. And 1.0 came out, and the General's Handbook came out, and I lived across the street from Games Workshop. Like my whole life has always been devoted to the hobby. As crazy as that sounds, like I've always lived near the game store. I've always been painting, always been playing something. Like the jobs and kind of the work I do always revolved around being able to kind of like spend more time hobbying than doing anything else really. So
nice.
Yeah, I mean that's good.
Yeah.
No,
I mean,
I think so.
It's still kind of that way, but it's crazy, which is why I have all this stuff behind me.
And that's like a third of what you used to have, yeah.
Yeah. Like this is my pile of shame now, and that's the whole thing I'll get into. But when 1.0 came out, I was playing like competitively, like 3 to 4 matches a week, really like getting into it. Went pretty hard in 1.0. And then when 2.0 came out, I didn't actually ever play a game, but I kept buying, right? And
as we all do.
Dangerous
yeah.
game. Yeah.
It's a dangerous game, but we all do it.
But it's like the only way I could participate in the hobby was buying. And it took me a lot of like looking back and figuring out like what the fuck is going on? Why do I have all this stuff? Because like I said, this is a third of what I had even like 2 months ago. So this is after multiple purges of still like what's there. And I'm like, it's crazy. Like this is a 4x6 behind me. And it's like 2 feet tall.
Well, like I remember when we first met, and you're like, "Hey, if there's any 40K model you want, let me know. I'll go check my downstairs. I probably own it." And he was not kidding. I would rattle off a bunch of minis. He's like, "Oh, I have this, and this, and this." And I'm like,
"Yeah, I mean, and it's not like I don't want to seem like a flex. Like this is my pile of shit. It's more of like a little bit of mental illness, probably like a whole lot of alcohol at the time." And then just my life was the hobby, as crazy as that sounds, but the only part of the hobby that I got to participate in was the buying. Like I didn't have time to play from either like college or girls, and then my wife, and then kids, or like other bad stuff that I was doing. But like in my mind, the hobby was still, it seemed like it was number one, but it was really on the back burner. Wasn't painting, wasn't playing, just buying. Which brings me to my goal for like going into next year, and I think it's probably going to be a 2-year goal. Is no new miniatures. This Forge World box is my last Games Workshop. It's my last miniature purchase ever. Actually, it was in May. Orc and Goblin Tribes, the banner dudes for Old World.
Yep.
Those and the goblins. I bought the new goblins. Those were the last purchases. And I'm not buying anything else until everything behind me is either painted or gone. And there's like a 8-foot tall bookshelf over here that's full but that stuff's like partially painted or built. So this is the stuff that's just like still new in box. But it was more of like being intentional in what I'm doing, especially now that I accidentally have 4 kids. Everything I do has way more meaning now. As cheesy as that sounds.
No, I mean everybody I know, all of my friends that have kids, it does change you. Like every one of them's like, yeah, man, like I don't know what it is. It's just like a feeling, you know.
Yeah, everything
like
you do is more direct.
Yeah, and it's like everything is way more intentional because next year I'll be 35, and it's like I'm not a GW hater, but I'll probably never buy a GW product again because I don't like big companies. Like I try to not give big companies any money, which is also like something I probably shouldn't say because most of my clients are like big companies.
I don't know if your clients are watching this podcast. I think this is a safe space.
This will be the podcast that blows up, right? But no,
I find out that they're also War Machine fans, and they're like, "Oh, what's up?
I know that guy."
Game. Yeah, exactly. And it's like a lot of this stuff behind me. Even there's a ton of Games Workshop stuff, but a lot of it is like indie companies, which is really what. Before I realized, like I had a lot of probably mental illness going into how much shit I was buying anyway. But a lot of it's like indie stuff, and that's the direction I was going in. I've got a ton of Relic Blade that I'm really excited about because that's just one dude kind of like living his dream. And that'll probably be my only exception to my rule of no new miniatures. If he drops another Kickstarter, which I think he will next year, I'll definitely be getting that just because it's one dude who does all art, all the rules, all the miniatures, and they're metal casted miniatures, which is crazy to think about.
Nowadays, yeah.
That is crazy. Yeah.
Yeah, so definitely going to support that. And even when I do start buying again, I only plan on really doing like small
purchases.
Like not even like when I buy stuff, I'll buy the full army just because that's how I like working. Like I'll build the full army at once, paint the full army at once when I'm actually painting. But just like limited employees, not publicly traded. Like these are people living the dream and doing this for the love of it, not to turn a profit.
Yeah. I can't say too much because I just bought Helm Hammerhand for the new Lord of the Rings movie model. But that's because I like Lord of the Rings, and I was like, I saw the new War of Rohirrim movie, and if you haven't seen it, it's pretty good. But I bought the Helm Hammerhand model because in the movie, he has this dope scene. I'm going to recreate it. I showed Matt the files earlier. I haven't shown you, Ross. I got the files for a 3D printable Helm's Deep.
Oh yeah, you told me about it. Like that you have like the gate, right?
Yeah, but I have the entire like mountain and the entire wall, the run. It's like if I printed it all, it would be like a 3-foot wide table.
Dang.
So I'm going to shrink it down a little bit, but I'm going to build the diorama of Helm Hammerhand having his final stand on the movie, and that's what I'm going to do.
So when does the movie take place? Like,
so,
what is the...
It's before all of the...
It's 200 years before, and without getting too spoilery, it explains why Helm's Deep is called Helm's Deep.
Yeah, that makes sense. Is it like I know it exists? I don't know anything else about it. Is it from like the Silmarillion and
so
like the Unfinished Tales?
It's like it's a blank spot in the Silmarillion. Yep. So it's like kind of touched in the Silmarillion, but like Tolkien never really fully explains it, and so they kind of took that and then like ran with it.
Basically, Helm had 2 kids and a daughter. We never knew the daughter's name. This movie gave the daughter a name and then explained a story about her, but it wasn't really about her. She was more of the eyes into the story. Like she was the character we followed through like Helm Hammerhand's story.
I need to watch it. That's cool.
It seems pretty like lore
friendly.
Like it follows the lore. Yeah, like they're way more into the lore than like other recent Tolkien stuff.
Yeah, if you watch this and you like other Lord of the Rings movies, from a lot of like the true Lord of the Rings fans who have seen it and I've seen online, they're like, this was a good movie. They usually rate it between like a 6 and an 8 on the Lord of the Rings scale out of 10.
Oh, cool. Are these people who would give like Rings of Power a 0?
Like they'd give it like a 4 or 5, like at max.
Like Rings of Power doesn't exist to me. So okay, cool.
Have you guys seen? Speaking of indie war games, I am in the same place you are, where I'm like, I'm not buying another model until I have painted all the stuff I already have. But if I get another like indie developer or like really small company, I'm looking at Trench Crusade. Like that one seemed really
Didn't
cool
you back
to
that,
me.
Matt?
Yeah, I backed it. So the reason I
Nice.
backed Trench Crusade is because I'm definitely gonna butcher his name. So I'm not gonna say it, but he's the guy who made Mordheim and also the guy who was
Yes.
part of the team who wrote 6th edition. It's I think it's Tomas Pirin, but I probably butchered that again. Like I was in the Facebook group when he was just kind of like pushing the rules out for free, and he was like, "This dude made really cool art." I don't remember the artist name, which is terrible. But he's like, "I saw this guy's art, and we made a game for it. Here's all the rules."
Oh, that's
Mike
cool.
Francina.
He was just dumping the rules out in the Mordheim Facebook group, and then eventually the Trench Crusade Facebook group. So it's like you don't even need to back Kickstarter. Even with the Kickstarter now, they're still saying like convert your stuff. Like you don't have to buy the 3D printed stuff, and we'll always be pushing the conversions. Like that's a dude who's in it for the love of the game, and that's the stuff that you should be giving money to, so they can exist.
He did Warhammer Fantasy and Mordheim. Mike Francina, the guy who's doing the art, did art for Magic the Gathering, Diablo 4, and Path of Exile. And then there's another dude in there. I'm not super familiar with him, but it's James Sheriff, and he did 28 Mag and Ian Miller's Grim Tarek. I'm not super familiar with those, but I started following because of the Mike and Tumas. I'm probably butchering it too, but the art looks great. The lore looked really cool. I was like, if I get into another game, like that's another one that I might jump.
We also bought
eventually.
into Fallout, which is like I don't know how big that company.
We did get Fallout. Yeah.
The Fallout
We
minis.
got
I don't know if you've seen
it's
those.
Like Kill Team. It's very similar, or not very similar, but it plays similarly to Kill Team.
It's
in
a
my
skirmish
opinion.
game.
Yep. It looked neat. I like the models. The people running it at Nova were really cool, and so I was like, oh, I'll get the starter edition.
Yeah.
I haven't finished building them yet either.
I finished building mine next week, and then I'll get them primed at the end of the month. So they'll at least be primed and zenithal, so I can because I want to paint them semi okay, like decent, but not like super high end. But I'm gonna get them zenithal primed and just be like, there's where I'm at until I can find the time to finish them. That way we can at least play.
Yeah, I want to do them over Christmas. I got my wife and I an army, so like, I say an army. It's like 10 dudes.
Yeah, it is very skirmishy. It's more narrative based. Like you were saying you build your own campaign for it, and you can like.
Yeah, you're fighting over Disney World functionally, or like the Fallout thing of Disney World. So you're like fighting over Nuka World, and so like you fight in the different parks, and like you own different pieces of the park or whatever. And it looks neat. I think it'd be fun to like, throw at when I'm if I just have nothing else to do. Yeah, between projects and see how that ends up playing.
Yeah, I like to have that project you don't really care about that you can just like keep on your desk when you got 15 minutes, throw some paint on it.
Yeah, just have some fun with it. Do something weird. I bought some weird metallic paints, and they're like colored metallics, and I was like, let's try these on the Fallout, whatever. Sounds cool.
Yeah, I've heard it's good. I think I talked to like 2 dudes who played it a while back when it first came out, I think.
Yeah, they had a decent little turnout. They were playing in the one of the main halls near the Lord of the Rings guys, and they had a couple. I think they had like 6 tables running, so they were definitely going.
Oh yeah, they did. I remember that. Yeah, they had like 6 or like 8 tables, and they all had like the terrain was super cool.
Yeah, because it's all like, the terrain that they had on the table was like all of the little press fit, pre-printed like colored cardboard stuff.
And then the company who sells it does also have like 3D printed files you can buy, so you can print like the Red Rocket gas station.
Yeah, you can print like a bunch of Fallout stuff.
Yeah. Which as soon as you get your printer, Ross, we'll print that.
Yeah, I can't wait for it to go on sale again. I just bought a computer. Computer's expensive.
And this guy at Nova was like, "Yeah, I'll buy the printer when we get back," and that was in September.
I didn't get my bonus in time, dude.
It's been on sale 3 times.
Well, it'll go on sale again.
That it will.
It'll probably the bamboo.
Yeah, he's gonna get the same one as me.
I've got 2 Mars printers at the house, but resin is just annoying to set up right now, and I don't really want to risk the cancer again. I'm out of gloves, and I got to replace LCD screens and like make them work again.
Yeah, I'm at the point now where I'm like, am I bleeding? Like, I feel like I'm bleeding on the inside but I can't tell. Like, I don't know if there's actually something going on when I'm around the resin, or if it's like it's in my head because I know that maybe something could be happening. Because it's like, if you want to find a study showing there's no effects, there's plenty of those. And if you want to find a study that's like you're gonna die tomorrow, there's a ton of those too. It's like it's really a result of like you're gonna find whatever you look for.
Oh, I used to be so bad. So I used to run my FDM printer printing ABS, right? And I have like this
God.
desk, and I'd have a desk right here. So printing ABS and an FDM printer with no shield, 2 resin printers going, and then I had a sonic cleaner that was heated, filled with 99% isopropyl. Like functionally, I had like a bomb in my house. Like
Okay.
if any match went off, it would
Yeah,
just
that's
kill me.
Anyone
I like
listening,
this
do
high.
not
That's
do
quite a
that.
bit.
That is
Yeah.
a disclaimer. Do not do that. That is bad.
Yeah, that was when I was young and dumb. You know, like
Yeah.
realistically, any spark, like you plug it, and I'm like running electronics all over the house, right? Like all
Yeah.
over the room. I got like lights and stuff, and like any spark would have killed me. Genuinely impressed. I'm still here. If you were honest.
So I had all my stuff set up in the laundry room. And for a while, I was like, this is perfect. Like, the washer and dryer in here, I can vent to the outside. And then I started thinking, I was like, I have a vat of isopropyl alcohol that I'm never going to actually ever clean. And I'm lucky if I keep the lid on it next to the dryer, like 2 feet from the dryer.
Yep. And you're like, maybe
Yeah, so
not
I
the
don't do that
best
anymore.
idea. Yeah, pro tip: don't run ISO anywhere that could have sparks, especially if you're gonna heat the ISO like a little goofball. But hey, it does clean resin. I'll tell you that. Heated ISO is freaking awesome.
I think it's actually the ISO that I have a problem with. Like, I mean, I still wear
Probably.
gloves and stuff,
It's an
but
irritant for sure.
yeah, it's bad. Even with a mask now, it's pretty bad.
Yeah, if I put the resin up again, I'm definitely doing it in the garage. That way, it's just away from anything and everyone.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have it in like a grow tent right now. Like, I just got to repurpose a grow tent exhaust fan, so it's just a printer that goes right out through a hole I cut in the window.
When the
Yeah, it's like Taylor's
air booth.
air booth. His thing rocks. He can just paint right in his office.
Yeah, right there.
But I just paint my office anyway because it's just like.
Oh yeah, like I have this. I'm bougie. I have this big fancy thing that has all these fancy lights I built into it.
Yeah, his rocks. His setup rocks. I've been painting over there. We just painted yesterday. We're gonna paint again tomorrow.
Awesome.
But
yeah,
for when I get when we move, because eventually we'll move, and like I get the space that I want to set up like 2 or 3 essential fans that all have hoses to like 2 resin printers, and it just pulls it straight out the things and throws it out the window, and it connects to like this, and I can move the hose to whatever I'm doing that time. There's a bunch of people like the professional painters in like Taiwan and Singapore for Gundam. They all use like big giant in like centralized fans that all pull air from like 3 different spots because they have like. It is like their whole job is painting Gunpla, so they'll have like one big fan that pumps out, and then they have their 3 different booths attached to it.
Nice.
Oh yeah, I've seen that. That's kind of like, imagine building that with the shittiest parts and the lowest amount of money, and that's my setup right now.
Hey, you gotta do what you gotta do.
If it works, it works.
It works. It works.
Yeah.
This has been slowly like built and upgraded, and will probably be rebuilt when I move again, kind of thing. It's just like it's a wooden box that just gets upgraded.
Yeah, but it looks great and it works great, and you built it, and like that's ultimately what matters.
Yeah, it's perfect for content.
Yeah, speaking of building, you want to talk about building communities?
We can move into that. I wanted to hear about Matt, his Armies on Parade win.
Oh yeah, I didn't hear about this.
Yeah,
before we get into that.
So all my shit gets stolen, and then
this is gonna be a very rambly episode, by the way.
Yeah, I just ramble, and I talk fast, and I'm all over the place.
It's all good.
So hopefully it's not terrible.
I'm
trying to think. I have it. It was 2018. I was like, I planned on doing an Age of Sigmar board, and I did the Age of Sigmar board for my Lizardman army because I was playing the Lizardman, and like back then, our Seraphon, the stupid name, the copyrightable, suable name.
Yeah.
I was playing Lizardman and I was playing Zinch. So like the 2 like straight up like dick stompers, like people like I couldn't play unless people knew like what was gonna happen to them because I'm a competitive player, but I don't want to be an ass about it.
Yeah.
But they were terrible. Like it was bad. If anybody knows of Age of Sigmar during that time, like looking back, I feel bad. Like I should feel bad about it. But that's what I was playing. I had the Lizard King army done. The board was done. And I was like, I should do a 40K board like 48 hours before Army of Parade was going to happen that year. I didn't even have the army painted. So painted up an Imperial Guard army. It was like, it wasn't even a full 2,000 points. I think it ended up being like 12 or 15. It was like 30 guardsmen, like 3 tanks, a Forge World Valkyrie, and then like 2 or 3 chimeras, and like a Leman Russ. So it was enough to like look cool on the board, but it wasn't like a real army. And I throw this thing together, like I don't sleep for 2 days, paint it, and I'm like, this looks like shit, but I did it, so I'll bring it, right? So I'm up for 2 days, and I pack everything up, and I go and I get there, and I set the 40K board up, and I'm like, all right, this is cool, but like I did it, it's here. I go to set the Lizardman board up that I spent like the whole year building. I forgot the Lizardman.
Oh no!
So it's just the board, right?
Yeah.
So I'm like, fuck, does anybody have an extra armor they want to throw on this board, and we can just like make it look cool because I spent all this time on it. So I think it ended up having, I wanted to like flesh eater quartz on it, and this is like a tropical. It was like the background was like a mountain that had vines coming down and a waterfall, and then like a swamp, and then there's flesh eater quartz on it. That board won best scenic board, and then I silver medaled on the 40K board that I just kind of like threw together. So I was just so mad at myself for not having having my actual entry there,
Yeah.
from not sleeping. But I mean, I got a silver medal, which is cool. I got that still on my wall. I got best scenic board for 40K, best scenic board for Age of Sigmar, and I won something else, but I don't know. I don't have that certificate hanging up in here. I did end up using the Slan in the duel competition, and I won the duel competition for him. But yeah, that was starting the wake up call. Like maybe I shouldn't drink so much. That was when I started thinking like I should probably calm down. And so it's funny because that's what kind of like the hobby is what started me down the path to getting sober. I'm sorry, excuse me. It took a couple more years to really like stop drinking, and I'm 3 years and 4 months sober now. But and that definitely wouldn't be possible without the hobby. But yeah, that was one of those like, wow, this was really dumb. And I lived across the street too, so it wasn't even that like I could have gone to my house and gotten it, but I wasn't even like able to think well enough to just be like, my dumb ass should go. Like I could walk to my house from where I am and come back and get it. And then, so that was just one of those days. But
it's still a W come out of that, and you're like, yeah, you like forgot something. It's still like when we first met, you're like, yeah, I got second place Armies on Parade. You said it so casually. I was like, what do you mean? That's dope.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I wanted the win. I don't know. I back then at the time I was different than how I am now. Like now, I'd be happy if I just dropped something off, and I would be like, you should be happy if you finish it. It doesn't matter what you place in. And I think that's probably like the dad in me now, because before I'd be like cutthroat, like I'm here to like
win,
shit
yeah.
on everybody.
Yeah.
But now I'm like, it's just cool, guys. Like we're here, we're homies now.
No, I think that's just part of the transition in being in the hobby too, though, right? Like I think you get into the hobby and you're just like, wow, it's fun to be here, and then you're like, all right, I'm about to take this super serious. I want to win, win, win. And then as you kind of get better as a player, as you get better in the hobby, you're like, hey, maybe it's just good that I do as good as I can, and other people are also happy, right? Like I don't know.
Oh yeah. No, that's exactly where I'm at now, and it's especially now that I've kind of like, again, I'm not anti GW now. I just like don't like their games now. So it wasn't. I mean, I don't like big companies too, but sorry, I better get taken a drink real quick. Um, I didn't like Age of Sigmar anymore in 3.0, and I didn't like 9th edition 40K. So that's kind of what brought me to War Machine, which is why I'm here now, which I absolutely love. And I like War Machine because it seems like almost everybody is competitive. So they kind of like expect you to have a functioning army, which
I feel like everyone's competitive to a point. Like everyone wants to have a good time, but they also want to like get better. Everyone always wants to. It seems like everyone wants to improve, but everyone also just is okay with just having a good time while improving.
Yeah, exactly. Like I haven't met a single person who like brought an army that like doesn't work, and then get mad that your army is like not even like mid max. But like you could go up to a Games Workshop like store to play, and like somebody could have cool models across from the table, which is fine, but like you had no hope of ever winning or learning anything from this game and I don't want to like make you hate the game, so I'm not gonna have fun playing you by toning it down, But with War Machine, everybody's kind of like, even if your list isn't min maxed, you're gonna have you're intentionally trying to play strategically.
Yeah, I'd see that a lot, and then I think War Machine's models, like the way they've done the armies, feels a little bit more balanced in my opinion.
Sure.
Because in GW, especially the way that model works, right? Because it's basically what's the flavor of the season. GW 9th edition is going to be, 8th edition was pretty melee, if I remember correctly, or maybe I have that backwards. But like it goes like melee shooty, and so like these three armies are really good this year. Next year, these other armies are really good, but it doesn't. War Machine, at least so far that I've been in, has felt fairly consistent. Like most of the armies feel fairly consistent. It looks like I'm out of focus. Hold on.
Yeah, and then
we'll
get into that at the end,
which I'm looking at right now.
There we go.
Everything works, I think.
Yeah, and we talked about this last cast. If you get into the game now, and we talked about this in our bad rat. If you get into the game now and you pick a Mark IV army, you're gonna have a good time.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah, they're super balanced.
Overall, you can play pretty much any Mark IV. Yeah.
Yeah, it's only if you're a dummy like me and you buy 6 legacy armies and you're like, why does some of these not seem so goody? But I mean, like I have Grimkin. I have like the good circle. I'll be playing Royal Guard like this year.
As you should. Dwarves power.
Yeah, so I'll be playing an actual good army. I think for the first time really since I started playing.
Yeah, I'm excited for the new year, and we'll get into the predictions later. But speaking of the War Machine community, that's actually a perfect talking to today's big topic: community as a whole. And community is a special place, especially in War Machine, because it feels like people dog on the game, but like the community is still one of the best communities. I say people dog on the game, I mean like people who don't play War Machine dog on the game for being existing still, and they're like, oh, that game still exists. It's like Destiny players. But the
that
community
game really does still exist.
Destiny not anymore. And like this is a quick tangent. I bought this year's expansion and then I haven't touched it because like the game had so much potential. But
yeah, I was a hardcore Destiny 1 player.
Look, you're talking to the king of games that have fallen off. All right, I played World of Warcraft since Classic. All right,
that's the only game I play. That's the only game worth playing.
Look, I'll have you know, I have the fallback of old school RuneScape. You guys watch your mouth. They're still adding content to that.
Yeah,
I occasionally dabble.
Hey, old school is pretty fun.
Old school's pretty good.
But War Machine community is a dope community. It felt like anybody knew you were welcomed with open arms. You were like taught everything you want to know. You were like, here's what your army does. Here's the cool little tricks you can do. And then if you go to the conventions, it's like it doesn't matter if you're playing the best player or the worst player. You will have a good time. And if you're playing against the best player, they will physically talk out their turn so you understand everything they're doing. And then you might get like bent over the table and tabled real quick, but they will like spend 5 or 10 minutes talking about their turn, explaining what's about to happen and how you're about to lose, and then you'll lose. But at least you have the knowledge of losing.
Well, and not even just that, right? Like not even that. I'd say more than that. The thing that has made me really like the War Machine community, coming from playing 40K, coming from playing other tabletop games, the thing I like about War Machine the most is that, especially when you look at it in the sense of the competitive play, right? At Nova, at these there's some big name folks out there, right? People that go to Worlds, people that do very well at Worlds, right? Like we talk about Riker, we talk about some of these other guys, and they will stop you in your turn and like, hey man, before you do this, your character has this ability, and I would really, really use that if I was you, because that's gonna make my life a lot harder. Like they want you to play at your best, right? And they're not gonna win off a gimmick. They're not gonna win off of like you just didn't know your army.
Yeah,
and
no
so,
gotchas.
Like, haha, I got you. Which I have not seen, right? Even in non-competitive play in Warhammer, like if you don't know your army, one, there's a lot more rules, I guess. Like the army, the books, you're buying a book like this dang thick for each army, so like there's no way for me to know everyone's army as a Warhammer player. But like if you fumble your rules, it's just like, damn man, better luck next time, like good luck in the next game, I guess. But in War Machine, it's been pretty consistent that they're like, hey dude, I would I'd maybe read that rule real quick before you make this move.
And then there's also
and know what you're doing.
When you play games at the high level, if you talk with intent, like, hey, I'm gonna move this guy, and my intent is him to be out of range of that one thing. If you specify what it is, and then like he goes to measure it, and it's like, oh, you were like a millimeter in, it's like, oh, I bumped him. Cool, move him back. Like adjust it. Like if you talk with playing with intent, everyone's cool with like, oh, I know what you meant. I'm not trying to beat you at your worst. I'm trying to beat you at your best.
I had in a competitive game, I forgot to run Old Faithful to get, to like repair my my jack, and like we start the thing, and I go to activate him, and I was like, oh shit, I forgot to do Old Faithful. Oh man, oh that sucks. And the guy's like, hey man, just roll the dice, like do it real quick.
Yeah.
You're good. And I've never seen that in a competitive scene, like ever. Like granted, dude still got me, right? That he got me, but like he let me have that, even though like it was a close game, and like dude could have totally theoretically lost by giving me that freebie. But I don't know. I think that's really something that sets the community apart, in my opinion.
Yeah, I've never I can honestly say I've never lost a War Machine game, and I've done a lot of losing last year. I've never lost it to a gotcha, and I've never lost a game because of dice rolls. Like I've always lost a War Machine game because I got outplayed, and to me that's what makes it's a good game and it's a good community because like people will be like, hey, I'm gonna do this. Might want to think about doing this, or like I've never even had somebody I've had somebody tell me what they're gonna do to me and then do it after still, and like me not be able to stop it. You know what I mean? Like it hasn't even been like I'm gonna stomp you into the ground and then I'm gonna tell you about it. It's been like, hey, this is happening because of this.
Yeah, and I love that. I think that's really what makes the community different, and that's something that I want to continue to foster, and I hope continues to grow, because I think that really does set the game apart from any other tabletop that I have ever seen.
I don't think it's ever gonna. This is obviously a knock on wood, but like I've been to a lot of conventions in the last 2 years. I've been playing Mark IV, and like the events have gotten bigger, and the community stayed the same. I don't know, and even the new players are very very quickly adopting this like the same mentality, you could call it, of like the War Machine community and just like how chill everybody is.
Mm-hmm.
And like if you want to play casually, cool. We'll still learn how to play casually together. That's fine.
I think it comes out. I thought of this a lot. Like I've seen it in a couple other games. It's like when you're playing a game that almost dies, which if I think if we're being objective, it almost happened a couple times. The people who keep the community going love it so much that it gets that vibe to it. And I don't think it's possible to kind of get that vibe until this is a great thing we almost lost. Let's not be dickheads about it.
Yes,
that makes sense.
I think it stems from that because I mean you don't see that in I don't want to talk about the specific game or the specific discords, but a certain game just got a new rule set. I've seen 3 people get banned from the 2 main discords from one channel that I was interested in looking at from being crazy.
Is it the game we just got into?
Yeah,
oh my god!
People are popping off about stuff, and it's crazy to see.
I'm it's been 3 days.
Yeah, it's nuts. And I hadn't seen any of that. I saw it. Like I said, I've been looking at this game for a couple of weeks, and I'm already seeing that. I haven't seen that once with War Machine.
No, even when new rules or weird things drop, everyone's there is obviously the bicker back and forth, but there is also oh, I see how that's okay, and everyone kind of either moves on or be like, oh, here's how you counter that.
Yep.
I literally saw a comment today. I thought the guy was joking, but then he doubled down that he wasn't. Somebody posted a list, and the guy was like, "If you knew anything about playing this, you wouldn't have posted that."
Wow.
That's savage. I was laughing reading it because I thought he was joking, but he wasn't joking, and then it got pretty real.
I'm over here just picking cool models for that game. I'm I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just playing cool models.
Yeah, I have a whole stack of.
All right, it's Infinity. Fun fact. Who cares?
Right. I have a whole box of stuff. I still don't even know what any of it is. It's labeled. There's pictures of it. I have no idea what any of it is. I don't know. The greatest barrier to Infinity is going to be figuring out what it is. Not even what it does. Just what is this model I'm looking at?
Yeah, I feel and this is for anybody who's ever considered getting into it, and me and Matt have both got into it just recently, and I've got all my nomads up there. I was given a box of metal models, and I was like, I don't know what this is. So I pull up the Wikipedia, and I have to cross-reference what each model is, because each model is basically a different model.
It's great. I mean, I think it's going to be cool, but I built I got these guys all built, and these were like secondhand. They were just in metal pieces, and like I know that this guy's the Avatar, and I know he just got nerfed pretty hard, but I don't know any of this other stuff.
Yeah. Like I had to like put them on a piece of paper and write down under each one like this is a tomcat, this is like a hacker. And I'm like, all right, I finally figured it. I finally got every model like listed out, and now I can start building lists, but I'm like, I don't know what you still do. But I will say the Infinity community in this area, which apparently is actually like 50 or so strong.
Yeah, I think our local community is pretty great. So I was looking
the
at
guy who got me into the game was super friendly, super cool with it. The guys who are getting into it are super cool, and then like the area was like very welcoming. They're like, "Oh yeah, we'll play beginner games, sure. Just let me know when."
Yeah, I think the local communities would be great. It was the
big
global
Discords.
ones that was some wild shit.
But
yeah,
go ahead.
Luckily, I don't think we've seen that. Maybe onesie doozies where it's just like, and even then, like the quote bad, or not bad, but like less than ideal character traits of some of the folks, right? It's such a small minority. Like I think out of the like 50 people I've met that have played War Machine, there's only one dude where I'm like, I don't think I'd love to have a game with you. I'd still play the dude, but I don't think I would enjoy it in the long term.
I've literally met 2 people that have rubbed me the wrong way, and just enough where I'm like, all right, I can fine. And then one of them, literally the next year, was like a dramatically different person. I was like, oh, you were just having a bad day. That's all that was.
Comes down to it too, right? Like especially when we talk competition, when we talk competitive play, like sometimes if you're in that bell curve, right, of the like how much do you have to win, right? Because I think it's like you don't in the beginning you don't care if you win or lose, you're just there to play, right? And then you get to that point where you're like, I'm only here to win, and that's my purpose in life. And then you grow as you continue to grow. You go back to like, hey man, I don't care if I win or lose as long as I had a good game and I had fun. Like that's all it needs. Maybe that's where that cat was, and Nova was hard this year. It was super hard. There were plenty of really, really good players, and so maybe it was just a bad day for that cat. But like ultimately, one dude out of the like 50 people I've met is, I feel
really
like that's
good,
pretty awesome.
Really good odds.
Yeah, pretty good odds. And locally, there's 0 people that I'm like, I wouldn't play against you.
Yep.
Like,
agree.
The local community is fantastic. We got pretty lucky, I guess.
We got lucky. Matt there, this lucky guy right there.
Yeah, true. Yeah, we're gonna start the Tuesdays, right? That's what we're gonna start.
So this leads into like what we're gonna do for communities. We're in the Virginia Beach, Hampton area. There is a giant 45-minute underwater tunnel that sucks driving across.
Yes.
But there are players on both sides of the tunnel. We want to build a community on both, so when somebody can't come across the bridge, they can still play on both sides. But yeah, we're gonna start playing at a couple of different stores on this side of the water and try to build this community on this side. I think we're aiming at Tuesdays right now because that's one of the shop's like best times. That's world's best.
Yep.
Tuesdays, because they're open late on Tuesdays, and then we can all just start like whenever we show up.
It's funny too because I'm so used to game stores that are open. So like the game store I grew up with that I played like a lot of Warhammer at. It had a big Magic community too, but they're open at such weird times. Like they opened at like 5, and they're only open on like the weekend. They're open at like from 5 to like 4 in the morning, and that's what I'm so used to. And then getting to places where they're like, yeah, we close at 8. I'm like, dude, I used to not even show up to the game store till like 8 or 8:30. Like, you know.
Yeah, World's Best has like whatever their schedule is their choice, obviously. But it's like Mondays they have like normal hours. Tuesday have like they start a little bit later and they go a little bit later. Then they have Wednesday normal hours, and Thursday they have like late nights. I'm sure it's just like whoever they have working could work late those nights or whatever. But it's nice to have like probably for the workers, it's probably nice to have a normal day and then like a longer day and then a normal day. Also,
I'm sure.
Good for human sleep schedules to go to bed not at 4 a.m.
Yeah, true.
It's not around anymore. It went out. I think the owner retired. Like it didn't go out of business or anything like that. But it was Comic Chest is where I like grew up at, and that store had like whatever the normal hours were. But there was like the doors locked, the open lights off. That's when the store was open. Like that's when the real people were playing. So like the store hours weren't even like when, like who cares what the store hours were? Like the people like there'd be multiple 20-person tournaments going on with the sign off and the doors locked. Like that's just how it worked back then. It was way more like it felt way more of like a family. And and I'm sure it feels that way. Like that was just the store I was at, but I haven't found that again, that feeling again. It could be because I'm older too. But
No, I haven't
it
found
definitely
that
plays into it.
I haven't found that at, like, any store since I was like really. And it's funny, the best store I ever had, the community wise, and like they would have kept the doors open late if they would have, was the Games Workshop that got me into the hobby at all. But like they were in a mall, so they weren't staying open late.
The Games Workshop here like closes like 3 times during the middle of the fucking day.
Well, that's because
Like,
Games Workshops now are run off one employee.
Oh yeah, that's true. I don't blame the one employee, dude. I blame the managers. Like, show up so you don't have to close.
Well, it's like
that's a whole other.
That community. Okay, we're not gonna get into that. That's a whole other ramble that I don't need to get into.
Another ramble.
But one of the questions I wanted to ask you guys, and we can ask this to the audience: what does a community need for you to be a part of it, and what does it mean to be for you to be a part of a gaming local community? Like, what are things you look for that are like, I want that in a community?
I can jump in first if you guys don't mind.
Go for it.
Yeah,
Let's think about this. Yeah, so I think for me, like losing the community because like I just from not like participating in it anymore. Not that like I'm sure it was still going on, but for me to try to find one and come back into and then finding Atlantis, I think there's 2 parts of it where you can find a great community and not necessarily find a great store. And
Agree.
then that like there's like a weird thing that can happen there. I'm not saying that's happening to me. I'm just saying that's a weird thing that can happen where for it to like truly be perfect in my eyes, there's a great store and there's a great community where you can kind of come together at the same time where it feels good to be there. Like now, like it feels good to play with the people you're playing with. But if it doesn't feel good to be playing like where you're at and playing, like I don't know, that's something that
adds that family vibe.
Yeah, exactly. I just haven't been able to find that again. I think having kind of like one person who's the leader, like Jay for us, like I think you can tell like he probably kept the game alive here, and I know the community is pretty huge now, but I get the feeling like it probably wasn't always the same. And like again, that's somebody who's doing it because he loves it. That I think you have to have that for the community to exist. So like having like no matter what, he's gonna be there playing War Machine. Like if he's the only one there, he's gonna be there playing War Machine. You know, I think that's what you kind of have to have. Like he's the Atlantis daddy. As crazy as weird as it is.
He needs to change his nickname to that now.
Yeah,
he's the old guard, right? Yeah.
Yeah, like you got to have that one linchpin who is like no matter what.
Yeah, he loves this game. He will die by this game, and that is something that the community, like a community that is trying to, especially through like the pitfalls of War Machine, that's had its ups and downs for sure. You need that stable person that like holds it down. They're holding down the fort.
Yeah, exactly. Like when I went in and played Mage Knight, there was that guy. His name was Bilbo. He went by Bilbo.
What a legend.
Yeah, he held it down, and then like he kind of passed the torch as he got like older and aged out. So a guy named Richard, he was that guy. Same thing with Magic. There's a guy named Billy. It's kind of funny, like there's all these bees, but he carried Magic and made sure that like no matter what, we're gonna have FNM. No matter what, like if there's 3 people here, if there's 45 people here, like it's gonna fire. And like you have to have that one person who like keeps it alive, even if like you don't always agree with what they're doing. You got to like you know you can depend on them to keep it alive.
No, for sure.
No, I'm in total agreement with like this. Like the store player base cohesion needs to be there, and then the community, like the actual people, just need to be like enjoyable to be around. Even if you're like losing, playing, just like I know Atlantis does paint days, so everyone just comes and paints.
Yeah,
and I think that's dope.
I think the Atlantis community itself is probably the best community. Is definitely
the people that play War Machine at Atlantis are like awesome people. I wouldn't be so invested in the game if it wasn't for them, because it would just be me, Ross, and AJ. That's all it would be. It'd be us 3, and that's all I would know.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I think like when I think about community, right? So like my first community in the wargaming world was some buddies in high school. I think there was like 6 or 8 of us, and we'd bring in other guys and stuff. But they were those linchpins, right? So it was 2 guys, Michael and David. And like Michael got me into tabletop gaming. I still remember it. It was like my junior year in high school. Michael comes over and he's like, "Hey man," or no, it was David. Excuse me. David got us in, and then Michael became the linchpin shortly after. Because David comes up junior year of high school, and he's like, "Hey dude, got you guys a Christmas present," and like I was friends with him, but like we weren't like super close at that time. And I was like, like that's crazy. Like you got us me and Michael a Christmas present. Like I just didn't even think about that,
Yeah.
right? And it was Dark Vengeance.
Wow.
And so yeah, and Michael was Chaos, I played Dark Angels, and we got into it. And I still remember like our first ever Warhammer game was we were in the band hall. We put tape on the floor, made a 6 foot by 4
Heck
foot. We were using
yeah.
shoe boxes for terrain, and we just played, right? Because it was like Christmas time, right? So nobody's doing anything, right? Like we weren't doing school, like we were just kind of screwing around anyway. And we went to Clockwork, and it was a great game store. I mean, it was open late, which we're high school kids. Like sleep is for the birds. I'm gonna be up at 4 in the morning. I'm just gonna sleep till 2 in the afternoon anyway. And we'd go out and play. The community was great. I still remember Clockwork has this very distinct smell. Like I can just picture it. It smells kind of like, so they did all the cards, they did the Magic, they did everything. In fact, Magic was probably the biggest community there, and it had this distinct smell. It sounds awful, right? But I still remember it. It's a fond part of my childhood of like cards, boards, and plastic mixed with like the very small hint of body odor, right? Because it's a nerd shop, and it was an old school nerd shop.
And a dash of cigarettes. Like that's
Yeah.
heaven right there.
Yep,
Yeah,
a
it's all on the
dash of
carpet
cigarettes
still.
because you couldn't smoke in there, but you just go right outside the door, and that's where everybody smoked, right?
Like,
And
when I die, that's what I want to be buried in. Like
yeah, and it was great. Like I still remember I knew all the Clockwork guys that owned the store. You go in there and they had great terrain, and that was a pretty fun part of my childhood. I moved to Missouri after I like grew up and got a real job, and the community there, I brought all my Warhammer, and the community there just wasn't what I was looking for. I didn't have the sense that I fit in. I didn't know anybody. I didn't have like a lot of friends that were playing, and the vibe was a lot different, right? It was very like I'm here to win, and I'm all about proxy models. Like I get it, especially if you're playing a game where everything's freaking expensive. Like I get proxy models. You just want to play the army you want, but like all the proxies were like to play the min max list, and I'm like, dude, I don't want to do this. Like you're telling me your dudes just like, nah, dude, this isn't it. So I stopped playing for like 3 years. Got big into Dungeons and Dragons with my other buddies, right? And that became my community, was Dungeons and Dragons, playing at my buddy's house every other weekend. And we made a whole day out of it, right? We'd show up, we'd cook something new. We bought a bunch of like D&D and Lord of the Rings cookbooks and stuff, and we'd make cool food, and we played, and we had a great time. And we did that for about 3 years. Then I moved here, and that's where I met AJ and Taylor, and they're like, hey, like, do you play games? I'm like, I used to play Warhammer, and they're like, I got this new game, you should come over and try it. It's called
I don't
War
even think
Machine.
about Warhammer anymore. It's just a different war. It's a different hammer. It's a better hammer.
Yeah, and they're like, hey, look, like, if you want to come over and try it out, we're gonna be playing. I came over, I tried it out. I was like, hey, this is really fun. And AJ had bought like an old game store that was going out, and he's like, hey, look, I've got these secondhand models. They're yours if you want them. Like, I'll sell them to you super cheap, and then you can have an army and you can start playing. I was like, cool, let's do it. That kind of fast tracked me into joining. And granted, like, I don't make it out to Atlantis very often. I hate the bridge. I hate driving across the tunnel. It drives me absolutely like bonkers. So I don't make it out super often. But like going to Atlantis, like, felt like I just fit in. Like everybody was great. Like Jay was great. The team is great. Everybody's um, just super awesome, right? And we showed up for the narrative event, and I played my Crix, and or no,
You played
I
my
didn't play
Dusk.
Crix. I played your Dusk, right?
Yep.
Because the new Crix hadn't come out yet, and it was like coming out but hadn't come out, and so I played Taylor's Dusk, and I had a blast. I was like, this rocks.
That narrative event was the Siege of Scarwall. That was fantastic.
Yeah, yep. It was so fun. I had such a good time. And then we went to Nova, met even more people, and that's kind of what has solidified me into like, hey, War Machine rocks. The community's great. And this is somewhere that I highly enjoy. I think for me the biggest thing is the culture, right? Like the culture of just like people are, I don't know, it just feels like they care. I can't really quantify how or why I feel that way, but it just feels like people care, and I think that makes the community really, really cool.
Yeah, like I've had people from the Hand the Rose and Lanes like check up on me because there's a couple times like I missed a couple weeks because I had just like a lot of bad stuff happen, and like they were just genuinely checking in on me, which was cool. And my problem with Atlantis is it's 45 minutes away from me. Like that's my only problem. That's why like the store doesn't feel like home because it's like such a, and I don't even have a bridge. Like I'm just far away from it.
You're like in
I totally get
the
that.
boonies.
Yeah, like I'm in the middle of nowhere. But yeah, I mean Atlantis is great. It's just it doesn't feel like home because I got to drive that far to it.
Yeah.
Yep, and that's kind of where I'm at, right? It's just not right there, right? Like Clockwork was always right there for me. It was I used to ride my bike. Like I didn't have a car in high school, so I'd strap my models to the back of the bike with bungee cords, and I'd ride my bike to the game store, right? Like that's how close it was.
Yeah.
I think that's the only thing I miss. I'm hoping that as we start going to like World's Best and stuff like that, will
Bring that
kind of
back.
kill that itch for me. And I'll have that game store that's close that I can just go to and not have to be like, hey, this is like my whole day is going to be War Machine because I'm going to spend 40 minutes driving across the bridge and then 40 minutes driving back.
Yep.
You know?
Yeah, I mean like that's an extra game. Like especially if you're timing your rounds, like that's a whole other game I'm spending driving.
And I've talked about this with some other Atlantis people. I'm like, during the summer, it's the worst to go to the store because everyone's going to the beach.
They're right on the beach.
Yep.
Yeah, they're right on the beach. So it's hard to park. It's hard to find.
It's not even the parking. It's just like getting across the bridge.
Yeah.
To there. It's because everyone else is going from the north to Virginia Beach, or they're going from Virginia Beach to the beaches up here because Virginia Beach is too crowded and they don't like Virginia Beach.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm hoping that World's Best will kind of like solve that for me because it's not by a beach. It's in a conveniently located strip mall. Like
it is probably
right next to my house.
It's also close to the left bridge because we have the underwater tunnel and we have a bridge. It's close to the left bridge, so like I know Matt pops up there every once in a while. I don't know if you're ever gonna pop up on a Tuesday, but if you do,
yeah, I'm gonna try to. And World's Best has that smell that feels like home too.
Oh, that store is so. When we first moved here, that was the coolest store because you walked in there and there's like sun bleached manga because it's been there in the window so long.
That store's got the legitimate nicotine stained walls. Like you could like it's so old people were still smoking in there.
Yeah, and like it's crazy when we first got here, and I know they still have some of it. You can go to the back of the store where nobody goes, and you can see they still have like the original fantasy models or like the original Lord of the Rings models.
The very first time I went in there, so my wife lives in Hampton, and I got there early before a date we had, and I try to always go into a new hobby shop whenever I'm somewhere new, and I go in there. And like they had whole sections like it was 6th edition again. Like I think like I walked in there the first time and spent like $1,000. Like it was crazy. Like I was just shoveling stuff. It was crazy. It was literally like an old school.
It was a time machine.
Like they had more. It's not that way anymore. Probably because like I bought it all over the years.
I mean, I bought some of it too.
They had more old school Warhammer than they did like the rebadge or the Reebok stuff for a while.
They still have old box stuff. It's crazy. When I first went to World's Best, I bought an OG metal Death Tread. I still have it downstairs unbuilt. But like,
and the prices were like when they put them on the shelves originally too. Like they weren't even looking at like
aftermarket. It was that store is MSRP. That's it. That is the beauty of it. There is no in between. It is if it's 20 years old or if it's 2 days old, it is the same price.
Yeah, it hits the nostalgia for me for sure. Like it just feels like a game store, like that I knew growing up. Like it just feels.
It feels like the potential's right there.
Yep.
Yeah, that's why I don't like Tower. Like they're a great store, amazing people work there, but it's just so new. Like,
where's the grind?
Yeah, like there's.
I walk in the Tower and I'm like, I want you to be able to have a conversation with me, please, for the love of God.
Yeah, like this Tower's just way too clean for me. Like I don't know. Like I'm the dirty hobby guy walking in here at this point, which is weird. Like
yeah, I want to be like top 5 cleanest people in the store, you know. Yeah. That's kind of my goal when I
want the carpets to be older than me. That's the simplest way to put it.
I take my shoes off when I go in the Tower. Like you guys this is way too good of an establishment for me to be in here.
But no, World's Best has a ton of tables. Some people didn't even know there was an upstairs.
I didn't know there was an upstairs at World's Best.
That's where you actually play, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
So when you first walk, so they have like a little D&D room on the left, And then when you go to the back of the store, there's like another like set of tables that's like half D&D, half tabletop if you want. They're 4 foot wide tables you can play. And then you go upstairs and they have like 10 more tables. They have like, and like that's not even like that's the main area. There's still like I think there's another side little area that has even more tables. They got a ton of tables.
Still, and this might just be like the rose-tinted goggles. I've never seen a store with a better layout than Comic Chest, because Comic Chest had like their little cash register right by the door, and then all the walls had product, but there was nothing in the middle but tables. So like you could have multiple like 20 to 30 person events happening, and there was still like more room. Like, and it was crazy. It was like a little shopping center.
The best layout that I've ever built to, and some of you might, this might actually is a big enough store that people know it. I used to go to Gigabyte Cafe in like 2008. Like people do know Gigabyte. It's like one of the bigger stores on the East Coast. It's where I used to live. And that store was awesome. That's where I got into, like, I was playing 40K, and then this cool dude who smoked like a cigarette an hour was named Oliver, got me in the Necromunda in like overnight. And then I built a House of Escher gang. I learned all like the OG Necromunda rule. I had printouts of all of it. And that's where I bought my first War Machine models. Like, my dad would go to work, he'd drop me off there at the beginning of the day, and I would just play there until he got off work. It was a dope community. They had a little coffee shop in there. They made food. The food was good. The coffees was good. That was like, that's my like community, like what I compare things to. And I'm like, this is hard to beat.
Man. I still remember being at Clockwork, and they had Hot Pockets, but they had Monsters and Cokes and stuff, and they were like $2, right? That was back when Monsters were $2 back in the good old days.
R.I.P.
And you'd go walk 50 feet. You'd get them to unlock the door to let you out, right? Because the doors would be locked at like 2 a.m. And you'd go walk to Taco Bell, get like a Mexican pizza and stuff. And then if you were cool with them and like you weren't making messes, like they kind of had to know you, because normally they were not super chill about like outside food. But like if they knew you, they're pretty cool about it, especially if the doors were already locked. And as long as you cleaned up, they didn't care. You go out and get like Mexican pizzas, come back in. You're like, here's fucking $4. Can I get a couple monsters? Slam those bad boys, and then go back to the 3,000 point battle of hell, and just take pictures of it at the end of the night to reset it up next weekend. Oh, it's good times.
No, Gigabyte Cafe I was spoiled going there, because it was like, there's like a whole cafe in it. Like they made paninis, they made food, like the barbecue. I still remember the taste of the barbecue chicken panini. Like that like texture on the bread is ingrained into my memory.
Oh, that's good.
And like those are the memories of communities that like stick the longest and like really help you grow that like attachment to the community. Like when I moved, I couldn't find a store that matched that. Every store was compared to that, and every time I walked in, it was like probably not great that I compared every store to the best store. I was like, oh, well, you're not them, and then I would have like a negative attitude toward them.
No, it definitely happens. It definitely happens though. Like if you find the one that you love, it's hard to go,
yeah.
It's hard.
And even when I went back, I was like, this is so. They changed location. I was like, this is so different. This is not what I remember, because they used to be in like, you know, when you go to shopping plaza, you have like the single ones, and then like they like expand into 2 wide. They take over a second store. Gigabyte moved and took over like 2 halves of a store, and I was like, this looks weird.
Yeah, Comic was like the 3 units. So it was huge.
That's sweet.
It was still in the shopping center, yeah. You talking about Necromunda just made me realize, like, with Trench Crusade, you can go in the Trench Crusade group and talk to John Blanche. Like, I don't know if you guys know, like you can just go talk to him. Like, it's crazy. And like Trench Crusade to me is.
And I need to look into it.
I talked about this before. Like, Games Workshop is no longer a steward of the tabletop hobby game. They're just a company that sells models.
Yes.
Which is cool. Like, that's what you could be. But like, they're no longer a steward of the tabletop hobby at all. Like, I wouldn't even, like, I guess they're a hobby company because they sell models. But I don't know. That's like a whole other philosophical debate.
And we are the most philosophicalist.
You can go in the Trench Crusade Facebook group right now, and I pretty much only use Facebook for hobby groups now. But like I personally have had a comment exchange with John Blanche on Facebook, which is nuts. And like anybody can just go talk to the dude. He's in there painting. They sent him some of the early models, like he was painting them. Like that's just so, like, what a time to be alive. Like, of all the evil Facebook has done, like, it's worth it that John Blanche is like, check out my work in progress, guys.
That is crazy.
Like, that is cool.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Oh, I still have my, like, so back when I played Necromunda, there was no Necromunda like models. There was nothing. So everything was conversions. I still remember buying 2 Dark Eldar or Drukhari boxes and making a House of Escher gang out of Dark Eldar, the women in the kit, because the House of Escher was an all female gang. And then I painted them black and pink.
Yep.
Convert like the Lord intended.
Mm-hmm. It was cool. It was super fun.
Like, I don't think I owned a single non-terribly converted model. Like, I thought I was a wizard. Like, everything I had was converted and everything was terrible. And it's like, now that I have the skill to do conversions, I don't really do it a lot. And I don't know why.
Oh, I know I'm a wizard with conversions. I'll pat my own ego there. You saw my Orc Stormraven, right?
Yeah, that was great. But I'm saying when I did conversions, they were all sucked. And like now I probably could make a good conversion, and I'm just like, man, I took 2 hours to take the mold lines off. What the fuck am I gonna do swapping arms? Like that's
dude, I've been watching Trovy and Miniatures, and he's like, oh, I fixed this model 200 hours later. I was like, oh my god.
Yeah.
I mean, like he takes 3 different models and builds one model, and then we'll just re-sculpt entire legs to fit. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm not doing that.
Yeah, those dudes go crazy. Like I wish I was that cool.
I think I'm probably I'm a pretty good painter, but sculpting, I've even tried, I've taken a lot of time to learn sculpting. I'm just not it. I don't know what it is about it. I can't picture the forms. I think it's a forms thing.
I don't know. I haven't spent enough time trying it, but I haven't found the project that I want to try it. That really sparks the effort. Because you need whenever you want to learn something, you need a purpose. Because if you try to learn something and you have no purpose, you are just you're gonna brain dump it after it. You're not gonna pay attention. It's just not gonna stick.
Sculpting and magnets, it's
magic.
It blows my mind. No, literally magnets, 2 rocks and stick together.
Yeah, just 2 rocks,
and then,
bro.
Somebody who takes a glob of putty, or even digitally, how do you do that shit? How do you even do it? I've watched videos on how you do it, and I still I don't know. My brain just doesn't work that way.
It just takes a different mind, I guess.
Probably it's or you gotta be able to, you gotta find that switch in your head to turn that on for the day.
I think I've done the coolest thing I've ever done is green stuff capes. That's about as far as we're getting.
Did you lay them over tinfoil too to get the shape?
Hell no, dog. You're lucky you didn't get. You're lucky if I only left 1 fingerprint in there. Right? If we got 1 fingerprint, I called that a win.
I used to I wanted to use Space Wolves. I would sculpt the fur into it, and I'd lay it over. I'd lay it over the model, see how I want it, and then I'd pull it off and lay it over tinfoil to get the shape of the waves I want. And then I would put it back on and then sand it back down, and then I would layer over the top because it's the pelt is folded over, and then I would do the fur on top.
Yeah, no sanding, none of that. Green stuff goes wet, green stuff go to model, green stuff stick. We call it a win. Maybe a little super glue.
If I do milliput and isopropyl alcohol, so it fills the gap, I'm like, man, this is amazing. I'm ready to go. Golden Demon, I'm ready. I'm sculpting my
shit. Put them in. Yeah, if only we could have been born 25 years ago, back when it was actually feasible. I look at the old Golden Demon stuff from 10, 15 years ago, and I'm like, I could probably get down with that. I could maybe I don't think I'd win, but I could maybe place or at least be considered. And I look at them now, I'm like, no.
Yeah, I look at it now and I'm like, I should try for a Golden Demon and then I'm like, I look like
Albert how many hours
and I'm like, I think I have the brush control to maybe get halfway there, but I don't even know how you spend 300 hours on a model. You know what I mean? I can put paint where I want it. I understand blending, but I don't understand how to spend 300 hours on a model.
Yeah, the second they started doing non-metallic metal for Golden Demon, I was like, all right, my chance.
So here's how they do it, and here's what I think it is. See that big pile behind you? They probably have that, either don't have that, or it's somewhere where they don't see it.
What's up? Yeah, I wanted to talk about that too. I'll show it. So I had all this was hidden, right? It was in this closet over here that's now empty, and it's probably covered in spiders. But
nice.
This was a walk-in closet that was full, and I was like, I don't have any models. Fuck, what do I need something to paint. I want to order it, right? So I ordered it, and I was like, fuck, I'll throw it in the closet. Next project, I would plan out these whole army-wide projects, and then go in the closet where I wouldn't see them, And so now the door to my like this is like the office game room, whatever room right now. Like I have to walk by it every day because I work from home.
You see it.
And it's just like my shame is on display. Like this is tangible mental illness.
That is also like a do that with a if you're gonna do that, take a grain of salt of you having to look at it every day. That's not for everybody to look at their shame every day.
Yeah, no, I think you gotta look at you gotta incorporate the shadow self. You gotta look at the shame.
I've definitely like, and this is like another tangent getting off community. Like I've definitely like I looked at my Gundam stack of models and I was like, I gotta do something about that because like before it was tucked away and I put it on all these garage shelves where it's all out and I'm like, it's kind of a lot. I'm gonna do something about
No,
it.
my Gundam's still hidden because like you fucking leave. Like nobody needs to know about that. That's still in the closet floor to ceiling. Nobody needs to know that's there.
But that's the painting and the Golden Demon stuff versus 2006. That is crazy. I think I have my Golden Demon finalist pin was from 2012.
I mean, I think that's still like respectable because it was getting crazy in 2012.
Yeah, that was like
I tried to go to 2014 and it was still too crazy. I had to go back to 2006 to be like, I could theoretically maybe paint something this good.
Yeah, like I've followed a Richard Gray tutorial, and at the end of it, my model looked like the Richard Gray model, and like that blew my mind to even like reach and like not as like showpiece, but like he made a tutorial that's crazy, and I followed the tutorial right. Like when I look at the other stuff, where it's like you can tell like they were glazing and stippling this for probably like literally weeks in one patch.
Months, yeah.
Oh yeah, like, and no speed paints. The paint quality back then not nearly as good. Like
they were doing so much with so much less.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
But I mean, like even now, like it just kind of blows my mind to even think about like how like literally with your life, how do you do that?
Yeah, they're just built different.
They are built different.
They're just built different. Yeah, that's one community that I like really respected. I'm like, dude, you guys do some cool stuff.
Yeah. This actually will be a perfect segue into our little next community subject is like online communities and what we're trying to do. So me being a more hobby focused person and like I do play the game a lot. I do want to be good at the game, but like I'm definitely a hobby first person. Matt's kind of in the same boat. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, I think like I used to be like I was always competitive, but in my mind, like you're not gonna like if you want to meta chase, it's got to be painted, and you can't proxy it. So like you got to be really good on all aspects if you want to meta chase. That's how I looked at it because like I wanted to meta chase, so I'm gonna hold myself to this standard at least. Like if I'm gonna play the hardest list to play against, it's at least gonna have paint on it, you know?
Yeah.
But now like I don't really. I mean, I'm still competitive. Like I want to play the best that I can play, and I want to play against people who are playing the best that they can play. But I'm to the point now where I'm thinking like maybe I don't play anymore, and I do go after a golden demon in like 5 years from now.
Yeah, and like after painting, I will have finished all of Orgoth this year except for Butcher, which is he's planned for another project, and next year I'm gonna finish Dusk and Khador, and I'm like, man, I really want to get back to just like losing time and painting one mini, and like just going crazy on that one mini because you can't do that on whole army. You can't.
You'll burn yourself out too quick.
You will burn yourself out. And that's actually why I talked to Matt. I was like, we need to build a community for like hobbying, and this is where you started your website called the Hobbynomicon, and then we started the Discord. And I'll let you kind of go ahead and go into that. But we are quick summary is building an online community to where you can learn anything about any game, and there's going to be a reference for like painters and players, and just like someone's going to be there, and you can always ask questions if you want to go ahead and do the rest of that. Sorry.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, it's still very early stages, as in like it barely like it's just there's a War Machine guide there right now. But really, it's kind of like you find a new game, and like what's the process of how do you go from learning about a new game to actually putting it on the table and playing it? So there's like those stages where like maybe you see an Instagram post of a cool model, and then you're like, oh, that's cool. Let me go join a Discord. Let me go order some models. And then those models will just like sit forever until you see another Instagram post and like those are cool. I want to play that game. I'll join a Discord. I'll buy some models. Those models sit. You never actually play. So my goal with making the site is to kind of like help people bridge that gap of like I found a cool model. I've purchased it. Now can I find like a real community and actually start playing it? I'm gonna keep coughing. Sorry.
Good.
And it's the goal of the site will eventually be like, hey, I saw some dudes playing War Machine. How do I actually start that the best way possible? Because I think with a lot of games, buying the official starter set usually sucks, especially if you like actually want to play it. Like if you, I think the War Machine starter set is actually I think pretty good. So it's not a good
I really
example
like it. Yeah.
to use for that. But like before that starter set came out, if you bought one of the
core starter boxes for the
the-
army.
yeah, the core that was like 3 dudes, that was like 2 jacks and a
Oh, the
caster.
battle group.
Yeah, that's like a terrible way to actually start the game, in my opinion. And it's like $60 now. So like you're $60 in, you're not actually getting a feel for the game, and you have to spend a ton more money to get a model. Whereas like if you spend maybe 30 minutes on eBay or like third party, you can have a real actual army that you can slow grow.
Yeah, I think.
And
Go ahead.
okay, okay. So like the starter set is actually good now, where you get like a real army to start with, and it's multiple troop types, multiple ways of playing the game. I think that is a great starter, but like every single Warhammer starter sucks. It's old inventory that had to move, right? So like nothing in that any War Machine or Warhammer starter is ever actually played competitively in most cases.
Well, and
Like
then
if
even
you
when you look at it, right? Like look at Dark Vengeance. That was so unbalanced. Like,
oh
and
yeah, yeah,
then
exactly.
like
I love that box though, but
the models look great, right? I loved
yeah,
it, but it was so unbalanced. Like it just felt like a slog, depending on who you had, right? And I don't know. I think War Machine has done a really good job with the at least the first 2 player battle box they dropped. That it feels like super balanced. It feels really good, and it actually gives you like a feel because you're getting your character, you're getting a solo, you're getting um like a I don't know, not like grunts. You're getting 0 grunts, but you're getting like 3 characters that all have special rules, and then you're getting a jack. So it's like, hey man, here's how everything plays. Go have fun and just
yeah.
go
And
beat the shit out of each other.
the goal of the site is to have a page for every game, and I really want to focus on indie games because they don't have the resources and the money to like build true like jump into the game
Yeah,
guides most of the time. So like my dream is in a couple years from now, it's a portal for these indie games to have user acquisition. So like go to this site, this will teach you here's your discords, here's your local communities, here's people who make content on the game. If you want to just buy models because they look cool, like cool, fuck off and go buy them. If you want to actually play, like here's a viable starting list that's like community built.
yeah.
Like Infinity, like Infinity is a bitch to get into because everybody just says like buy everything because it doesn't matter. Every model's good. And like that is probably true, and it's great that it's a balanced game, but it's not a way to actually like start playing the game.
No, yeah, because it's like like I can't buy everything, and there's no way that like that doesn't help me build anything.
Yeah,
Like if
and the way that like Infinity has SKUs is terrible because it's like all box sets, limited single models. But yeah, I don't know. That's all. So the goal, like I'm writing this now, is like how do you start Infinity N5 for like as cost effectively as possible, and still have something that you can like build on and keep going and actually be like you don't want to. Like I saw so many people drop a couple $100 into Warhammer, and then like you can't even like it's not even a legal list, let alone
A good list.
able to like win ever.
yeah,
So and
Um,
it's not like super competitive focused. It's just like if you want to start go from 0 to like 1 to start hobbying and painting, it's gonna have the intro tutorials there. But really the goal is gonna be like, I found this cool game. I have no idea how to actually start playing it. Let me find other people who are playing it and find a cost effective and economical way of buying it.
when you eventually write your Trench Crusade one, we should have like me go through it because I know nothing about Trench Crusade.
Yeah, that's a good point. And like I was about to lean into the microphone. That'd have been awful.
My poor editing. Ah.
I don't ever talk this much. Like I'm around kids and my wife. Uh is like I've literally like right even with Infinity, like I'm like taking notes, like this is how I get into these communities. Cause like you kind of see that like I'm actually bipolar, which viewers can probably tell just from how I talk and stuff. So like I'll go down rabbit holes and I'm like in the rabbit holes deep. And so like that, like being able to like, how do I go from like not knowing anything about this to being as totally involved, this is my life now, as quickly as possible. It's pretty much like the style of guides I want to make. Even if like, and I want to make it so like if you're thinking about playing Infinity, you can go to one page. There's not a bunch of marketing bullshit. There's not. I'm not going to put any ads on the site ever, actually. But it's like this is everything I could possibly want to know about this game. Almost like a board game geek that does the UI doesn't suck. Like that's really what the goal is.
No, like when I was looking through like trying to find info on like any game, like most websites don't have a good layout, and if you're a new player, you just get lost in the sauce.
Oh yeah,
you're like, I don't know where to go.
lost.
You click through like 3 different pages, and you find the thing you want that time. And you're like, oh, that's where I buy the models. Those are cool.
Yep.
You don't buy them that day because you're like, oh, I'm still thinking on it. You come back a week later, you're like, oh, how did I get there? And you have to jungle your way through.
Exactly. Like there's a company called Spellcrow that I think they might be in Ukraine. They're definitely like Eastern European, and they make like amazing hand sculpted models. Like I'll grab one real quick. But like nobody really knows about them, but they've been around for a really long time. And now I can't find the models.
I will throw a picture of them right there, and he will give me a picture later. I will do that.
Yeah, but
they're covering his face right now.
Like old school Warhammer style models, and their website is like totally hand coded garbage. And I'm like, I love your stuff, but like I hate this site. So the Hobbynomicon actually started because I was like rebuilding their website to make it usable for myself. So I was like, I should like just do this for all these companies that I like. And really, again, like my goal isn't to like sell them a website or anything. Like I'm just doing this so I
help other people find the game.
You know what I mean? And it's like I don't know what I want to do with my life, but these people are killing it, doing it in the tabletop gaming community. So I want to make it easier for them to get people to buy their stuff. And like that's awesome. My crazy idea behind it.
Yep. That is awesome. And that's like links below, obviously. Hobbynomicon, the website. There will be a Hobbynomicon Discord if you want to just come hang out, ask questions about whatever game. And if we don't know the answer, we'll find the answer for you. We'll help you find it. If there's not a community that you want to be a part of and you're in that, we will add that. Like right now, I think we have War Machine, Infinity, Gundam, James Workshop.
And it's pretty janky right now, but I think within like the next 6 months, it's going to be, I plan on having most of like the games I'm interested in. Obviously, I plan on having up on the site in the next 6 months. And even though like I'm not buying any new miniatures, I'll still build the guides out for any other games. And even like if you're an indie person, just shoot me a link to your website and I'll take the rest. Like I'll go from there.
No, it's a super cool thing that he's been building, and I'm glad to have that. And I don't know if you guys already are in a million Discords like I am. Like I have like 40 that I'm in that I have to recategorize and slim down every 6 months. It feels like.
Yeah, I hate Discord so much, but it's
Discord's kind of my thing, and it's what I've gotten used to. Just get like, so if you have, I'm also one of the Discord mods. If you have questions in there, happy to help.
Yeah, I hate Discord for like a historicity aspect. Like I miss forums because they're there forever. Like like even now, like how you can't, Google doesn't index Discord. So like you can't search. Like what happens?
Discord's search feature is the worst thing I've ever seen in my plan. Like I just want a Control F feature that's functional.
Yeah, it's so
good
bad.
Luck. Good luck.
Like it's cool. Like it was cool when it like replaced Vent and TeamSpeak. But
I like it a lot better than Ventrilo. I like it a lot better than Ventrilo, which is
it's better than Vent, but it's way shittier than forums. And it's like it's the forums now. But I mean, it's cool that it's live, and it's also cool that like I can go talk to like Runehammer. Like I'm looking at my Discord, like that's the other channel I was listening earlier. And it's cool that you can like go talk to content creators if they're active. Like that part I think is really cool. But if you're just like a normal dude trying to learn stuff from other normal dudes, like it sucks.
It's hard, and especially like because I joined in a few Infinity Discords and just other games. It's hard to jump in and be like, because it's a little nervous. Like everyone's talking about a game you don't understand. and it's like,
Yeah, and
what?
like Infinity is another language. Like I don't know. Like
There's
I'm
so many
excited.
things.
I'm like, what the fuck did you just say? I just watched Discord for 30 minutes straight, and I didn't like at no point did I understand any of this.
Look, I joined Infinity because I want to roll D20s. That's really it. If you hear click clack, it's because I'm literally holding D20s, just fidgeting.
Oh, that's great.
Do you want to see the best D20s ever?
All right, is it like the massive one that's the size of your head?
Yeah, but they're the rune hammer ones. Like,
here we go. This is where he flexes,
let's
by the
see
way.
all right,
This is your
I'm
flex.
actually somewhat organized. Yeah, these are expensive. These are the most expensive like dice I own, right? So they come in a slipcase that actually like holds the dice. Like, I don't know if it'll come through because of
Oh,
the
those are
ring light,
nice.
but it's like a pearlescent, like kind of bone.
Like my car.
Yeah, kind of like. Did you hear? Like, I just dropped the D20, and
Oh.
this boy is like a chunk. And it's like
a chunky dice.
It's heavy. It's like probably 3 times the weight of a Chesapeake dice. And, like it hits the table, and it's not like a metal die where you're like, I'm gonna fucking break something when I throw this. Like I'm not worried about it breaking anything, but it like this roll means some shit. Like you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I would buy like 3 sets of these to have the D6s alone. Like that's how much they are.
I bet you could reach out to them and be like, "Hey, I just want D6s. Can I do that?"
I did, and he told me they're coming actually.
No. Are these the guys who are doing Crown and Skull?
Yeah, this is the guy who makes Crown and Skull, which is amazing too.
Okay. Anybody who's in the D&D and you've like any games, Crown and Skull, we did like basically a one shot.
Yeah, pretty much.
It's a really cool little like D&D version. I don't know how to describe it because I'm not, but it's like whatever it is super fun.
So this is the other thing too. Like this is more of the stuff I'm trying to like get out to the world. This is one dude who made he's written everything in here. It's a leather bound book. I mean, it's fake leather, but like everything's fake leather. Look at how thick the pages are. And it's like I'll put it on the microphone. Like the pages are the textured like linen pages.
Oh, nice.
Oh, that's nice.
So like this is literally the nicest book. I just moved my mic back. This is literally the nicest book that I like own, and I own like some pretty expensive books, like just from
life
weird shit that I'm into, and like it's one dude who's like he fucking loves role playing games, and he only makes good shit. Like it just doesn't exist anymore. Like he's not making these books. I mean, I'm sure he's making these books to like live, but like he didn't make this book because he wanted to make $100. He made this book because he wanted to make a really good book.
Yeah. Crown and Skull is eventually something I want to have on the channel as like a live thing we do.
I pre-ordered Volume 2. I think it'll ship in January.
Nice.
And Volume 2 has like sci-fi. I didn't spoil it.
We just need a group that'll play.
Yeah.
True.
Ross, you want to play?
We could get down with that. I used to DM. I've DM'd for like, I don't know, 4 or 5 years.
Oh yeah, if you DM, that'd be even better. Like, I'll show you the only thing you need to see to want to play.
I'll have to read it, but
we'll talk more about that. We can talk more about that.
Yeah, we'll talk more about that offline. But I've definitely, I mean, I love DMing. I like world crafting. I like role-playing games.
I had a pretty sweet Snow Elf Paladin who was the only guy who could do damage.
Yeah, nobody like, and it's just crazy. That was just a terrible group.
So yeah, I'll do a quick info of my character. I had a Snow Elf Paladin that had an addiction. His negatives were addiction and paranoia. And
Dwarf Samurai.
Oh my goodness.
All you need to know. Like
that's cool.
Oh, that's good.
Basically, when you build your character, you can give them debuffs to get more points to make your character better. So I gave myself paranoia and addiction, and the way it works is like thematically, if I don't have coffee every 8 hours, I start getting paranoia, and then I can start swinging on my own people.
I think my favorite D&D character that I played was a goblin that had schizophrenia. I didn't get any positives for him having schizophrenia. I just thought it'd be cool to play. He would talk to himself every once in a while. He had split personality and he was a little bit schizophrenic.
Nice.
It was really fun. I had a great time with that character. But yeah, I mean, I love DMing. It's something I've done a lot. 5e mostly, and a little bit of Pathfinder.
What version of D&D did you start? Like when you started playing?
First ever?
Yeah.
Hold on, let me grab the book.
I gotta be. I'm gonna be a loser. I'm gonna say 5e. So that was the first edition I ever played.
Wrong.
Hey, look. And then I tried to play. I tried to play Starfinder, which is sci-fi Pathfinder, and then nobody showed up.
I don't know if you can read this. That is Gary Gygax's Advanced D&D.
Oh, nice.
So I played AD&D, the old school. I've got all the books. I've got a bunch of the minis. My uncle played. In fact, this monster manual is really special to me because it has hand-drawn portraits in it, like pencil sketch portraits from my uncle when he played D&D when he was a kid.
Oh man, that's awesome.
And so it means a lot to me. It's very special. Yeah, I played. It was the Lord of the Rings themed campaign in AD&D, right? Where like your action was like drawing your sword, right? That was the action for your first turn, right? Very very Gygaxian, very brutal, very like, hey, if you messed up, you die. The combat, you fight like one dude, and you're like, damn, I'm almost dead. Like I'm just a regular guy in this world. And I love that. That was like my favorite thing. Favorite thing growing up. But then my biggest DMing has definitely been 5th edition, just because D&D Beyond made it really easy. 5th edition's really easy for new players to get into. Like, it was just really easy for our group to play and learn, because most of the people in the group had never played before. So
yeah, that's cool. That makes sense. I have I'm a couple of boxes short, but I won't finish it until I get done with all this shit. But after I finish all this, I'll finish it, of a completely new in box chainmail miniature collection of like everything.
Nice.
Did you ever play like chainmail? Was the first like you have to paint these figures and then play in tournaments game I ever played, and it only lasted for like 2 years.
No, I never got into chainmail miniatures. I never never seen it really. I've heard about it, but I've never really jumped into it.
It's D&D 3.0, not 3.5.
Yeah.
But a extremely highly tuned skirmish game.
Huh.
So like you can take monsters out of the monster manual and throw them into the game, and it works. Like you just take their stats and it works. Like the rules are that compatible.
That is cool.
But the game itself like was built from the ground up to be a competitive, because it's probably Wizards, right? So they it wasn't like narrative. There's like no fluff. It's in the Sword Coast or Broken Coast, I think. And it's like, this is a competitive miniatures game. It's so good. I would even play it now. Like I think the rules still hold up.
Really?
Yeah, it's good. It's a D20 system, but it's literally like you take a D&D character and you can play a skirmish game. I mean, they have the pre-built characters, but they have rules to just directly port your D&D 3.0 character in.
That is cool.
All right, that's pretty cool. I like that a lot.
Yeah, it's sick. I have all the books for it and stuff.
Damn. Yeah, I'm looking at the miniatures in the archives right now. There's like a guy that has a Google Drive.
Like it's crazy.
They look good. I mean, they're very much old school D&D minis. Like, I love that. Somewhere, I don't know if I still have it. It's probably hiding somewhere. I have the old Frost Giant. I refuse to sell it. It's worth money, I guess, but it's the old Frost Giant with the battle axe that like you just can't find anymore. I'm sure it's lead cast, so I'm sure like I'm poisoning myself every time I touch it. But it was painted by my uncle, and so I
just don't lick it. You'd be okay.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's so cool, man. I love all that stuff.
That's like, and again, it could just be because I'm essentially a boomer in the hobby now. Like the soul is gone. I don't know. Like,
yeah, it feels like a lot of the new stuff is like that.
Someone was talking about it.
Kind of gravitated back to like Pathfinder and stuff because of that.
I couldn't tell you. I mean, I don't even mean like the rules. I mean like the miniatures. Like, I couldn't tell you what it is about the miniatures, but it's just not there. Like it's missing something.
I don't know. I will say I did really love Hero Forge. I don't know if you guys ever got into Hero Forge. Yeah, because I had a 3D printer. Like it made it really easy to get into Hero Forge.
Hero Forge still has like the characteristics of like, I don't want to call it goofiness, but just
it does have a little bit of goofiness.
Like it might just be like the goofiness is what's missing. Like I need.
So here's, and this is, I forget who it was. I think it was one of like the really big painters. They were talking about how they're burnt out on new miniatures, and it was because everything's too perfect. Like it's because it's all 3D sculpted, and everything's like perfect. Like this Space Marine, he looks perfect. He looks like he would look like in real life. But it's like, do I need that? And that's like
Cities of Sigmar is what I was like. Games Workshop isn't making miniatures for me anymore because the Cities of Sigmar miniatures are technically amazing, but like, there's no way I'm gonna paint that.
And
like,
it's
have
like,
you looked at the Cities of Sigmar miniature?
There a lot of all the Signar miniatures are like so detailed, and they're all super cool. Like the store, like the new who's the giant horned rat dude, the new Skaven guy.
Oh yeah.
Like that's a amazing model, but like I get what people are saying. They're like everything is just so over the top.
I think that this is my hot take. Lumineth Realm Lords, which I actually don't even. I have some of them, but not a lot. That's like peak modern miniature design, where it's like heavily old school inspired still. And
with the little bull horns.
Yeah.
Yep.
But it's still like clearly digitally made, but it's like it's right at that cross point of we got all the cool stuff from new school and it's old school inspired.
Honestly, I've been looking at it. I really like the Middle Earth game models.
Man, Middle Earth is like gonna make me come crawling back to GW. Like
I don't want to do that to you, and I do not want to do that to you, but like those minis, like they're really cool. I really liked the movie, so I wanted to buy the models
and what I had already planned on listening to this. This is like I had to buy this on eBay, but I had this when I was a kid. Got stolen. But like I'm gonna put the headphones in the Walkman and listen to that while I'm building all the shit behind me. And I had already planned on that. And then you're like, I bought some middle, or I think it's my fault you bought it probably because I sent you that eBay link.
Yes.
But like
it is.
I had already been looking at it. I was like, fuck, am I really gonna pick up a GW game after I said I'm never playing GW games again?
Yeah, this guy says that, and then he sends me the link. He's like, here it is, like 25% off on pre-order. I was like, and then like the next day I saw the movie, and I went home and I was like, oh crap.
Yeah, like my thing about Middle Earth is like I can't even find. That this is part of like what I'm trying to make the site for to fix. There's like some people who occasionally play in Fredericksburg, but I couldn't find anything anywhere close to us.
Yeah, I bought the models to do a diorama and like maybe play one game of.
Yeah, the game looks like if I could play it, I would be playing it all the time. Like I think it looks. I didn't really read the rulebook yet, especially the new one. But
I'll let you borrow it. I won't need it.
It's a duel. Yeah, I'll take you up on that. I think every fight is a duel. Like I think you can even if it's not your turn, you might win the attack. Like I think it's like both people roll.
Interesting.
Really?
Yeah, it looks really cool. And in a competitive tournament I watched, like the Balrog whipped a dude, moved him on top of terrain, and then flew away, and then the dude was just fucked. Like that doesn't ever happen. Like that kind of thematic thing doesn't ever. Like he couldn't get down. Like that doesn't ever happen. Like that's the part I miss of like this terrain isn't just to piss you off and like block
line of sight.
Like this is a real battlefield you're fighting on. Like I wish more games did stuff like that.
Well, Infinity, I'm excited to see how Infinity.
Yeah, that's why I'm excited about Infinity. I'm really excited about Infinity for that, and I think it's gonna be hard. Like I like that there's
so much going on in Infinity. Holy crap!
I don't think there's pre-measuring.
There's not.
So like that's a hard skill that like I as a person could be better at judging distances than you, and I think that's really cool. Like I'm terrible at judging distances. Don't get me wrong.
You're like I'm gonna suck at that, but theoretically, if I was good,
yeah, I think it's cool that you could be really good at something and like just win because of that. Like outside of the game, like I'm better than you, fucker. I like you know what I mean.
I have depth perception. Ha!
Yikes! I'm screwed. No, father.
I failed that test. I couldn't be a pilot.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that kind of. I will say that kind of, as our community sidetrack went crazy. Hobbynomicon, to wrap it all up, Hobbynomicon Discord down below. Join. Would love to have you. Go check out his site. The thing's awesome. He's still building it, but the more people we have on it, using it in the Discord, the more it can grow. The more it can be better.
Yep.
We can add whatever game you want. We will be in there. I post all my whips and all my work in progress stuff in there. I'm trying to build like the painter. Like, oh, I'm painting this today. What are you working on? Thing. And I really want to build that like everyone works on something a little bit every day or like once a week and just like builds that community of hobbyists. And then we have the community of gaming and like you can go from, oh, I bought this miniature because I wanted to paint it because it's cool. Oh, here's an easy guide in the same exact spot on how to play the game.
Yeah.
And if I didn't talk about this earlier, this is the other point, and this again is like midlife crisis, existential crisis, dad mode. Is if you want to post your whip pics to get like actual feedback, or even if you don't want feedback and you just want to say like real accountability, and you don't want to post it on social media for whatever variety of reasons, like that's like I plan on posting everything in the Discord, and I will rarely post on social media just because of like the validation traps, the FOMO. Like I'm avoiding social media because of FOMO. Because like I'll look at somebody's stuff and I'll be like, fuck, I gotta go buy that.
Yeah, I literally have a channel in there under the James Workshop category that's called FOMO Support Group.
So like now the goal is to like not like try like break the meta chasing. For me personally, it's like break that meta chasing cycle, break the FOMO cycle, helping. It's like I want to help other people do that, but I also want to help you get into games. It's like meaningfully get into games. Like don't just buy stuff that goes into your pile of shame. Like know that you're gonna start this game and have a plan to start playing it. Is the goal of the site. And then for me, the goal of the Discord is to have a place that's not like Instagram or TikTok.
Everything you post in there can have a benefit if you want it, or if you just want to show off, you can show off. Because like I bought into like this is a perfect example. I bought in a Middle Earth strategy game because I have the intent of doing something with it. This group I'm going to use to hold me accountable. Like, hey, I'm going to paint this year. Then there's obviously no physical consequences are going to happen, whatever. But like it's that like mental it's just the same as like having a gym group. You go and you all post pictures of whatever workout you did that day because to remind yourself that, hey, we all worked out that day.
Yeah, like I fully intend to be like, hey, where's your post at, dog? Like it's the holidays now, so everybody gets like a little pass. But as we really start to grow it, like if that's something that you want, like I'm not gonna hound everybody in the Discord. But like if I know that you planned on painting,
we could put a Discord bot that like pings you once a week if you haven't like made a post.
You could make it a role thing where you can type in. I mean, that's all like.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Exactly. Easy. That's kind of like I'm gonna sound super new agey, but like being meaningful and intentional in your hobby.
Yeah, because, like not just like you said, not buying something and putting it in the pile of shame, but like if you buy it for a hobby project, buying it and doing that hobby project, and then being like, even if you weren't happy with the end result, you did it and you learned something from it. Taking that and then going to the next one.
Yeah, and like so much of the stuff behind me is because I was afraid to paint it. Like, I think probably what's in frame is like newer stuff. But like over here in this far corner, it's stuff that I've been sitting on because I was afraid to paint it. Like that's crazy.
Like, no, it's a thing though.
That's a thing.
Like yeah.
Well, like today.
I mean, I know it's a thing, but I'm saying like it's crazy that people feel that thing.
Today, I finished my Phoenix Gundam, as it was a test. But I'm like, as I was building it, I realized I forgot to paint like 4 parts, and I was like, either going to freak out and have to paint them and wait 3 days to finish it, or I could be like, this is a lessons learned.
I never would have even noticed it. And like I was like staring at the picture after I realized it was that like I don't even know 100%. I think it might be the arms.
Yeah,
but, like, I still can't even tell. Like,
so
what that
on
was.
the kit, if anybody's seen it, this joint and this joint have an unpainted piece. The left hip has an unpainted piece, and the left joint has an unpainted hip.
Yeah, that's the stuff that's like you as the artist are like, oh god, this is terrible. Like everybody else is just like, this is a good piece of work. Like I don't even notice that. And then I think the trick to being a good tabletop painter is controlling where the eyes go, painting that focal point very well, so nobody even notices the other parts you fucked up on.
Yeah,
I don't even think I should ask you if I can cuss. I'm really bad at cussing, but
it's not a big deal.
We don't care.
As it comes to a close, I killed your monetization on YouTube.
The monetization I didn't have. Yep, that one. But yeah, that kind of wraps up the community, and we're gonna go into one quick. We'll do top 3. We'll make it quick because we're running out of time because it is late. And I'm not gonna be kept up. I'm not gonna keep these people up like Arcane Precision kept me up. Nope, not going to midnight. Yeah, heck you, Kyle. Not all the Kyles, just the Kyle that knows that he's the Kyle.
2020. Kyle's bad. I've never met a good Kyle, so
I've met one.
I met one. Yeah. I've got a couple good
they're
ones.
They're the same Kyle, actually. But as the year comes to the end, 2024 Steamrollers wrapping up. Next year, 2025 Steamrollers coming out. What are you guys' predictions for top 5 factions What do you think is going to be give me 3 like pretty staple ones, then 2 oddballs. You're like, I'm going to bet on this hill and I'm going to die on it.
All right, I can go. Definitely Dusk Orgoth. They're gonna be super strong. I think Infernals are gonna be really strong, or still stay pretty strong. I think we've seen them do pretty well. I think for the 2 oddballs that I'm gonna throw in there, I'm gonna throw Crix in there because F them I can and nobody can stop me. And they're my army and I love them. And you know what else I'm gonna throw in there? I'm gonna throw Gravediggers in there. I think the teleport is really gonna be something that's very difficult to deal with, and I think they're gonna be when they come out. I think they're gonna be like one hell of an army to fight.
All right, drop it
I
for
think
me,
if
Matt.
I was being honest, I'd agree with everything you said. So I'm gonna just do a hopeful wish. I hope that Roll Guard stays good. That Big Pig doesn't get nerfed too hard. I think Big Pig will still be relevant in Roll.
I don't think there's unless they like delete his stat line. I don't think there's a world, no matter the nerfs that may or may not come, that will kill Big Pig. I just don't think he'll be an auto take.
And I hope that Legion of Dawn becomes like viable. Like I don't need it to be top, but there needs to be more than just like a Zyra. I'd be really cool with that. As I'm looking at every single model in the red range on myself over there. That'd be cool.
I wonder where you got that from. I don't know.
I bought yours and like 3 other people's collections. I have so many doubles. I don't even know. Like, I think I might like just give some of it away, honestly, because I have so much of it. Like extra doubles, like outside of FA. Like it's pretty crazy.
All right, so
I'm definitely gonna
Legion
give away a bunch
Dawn.
of the stuff behind me too.
Nice.
And I think Dusk and Orgoth will stay. I think Crix will probably be my hot take is Crix will be the new Dusk.
I can see that. There's a lot of rules in the new Crick stuff that's come out so far that make it like there's a lot to deal with, and like we haven't even seen everything yet. Like we don't even have the Apotheosis Caster or the Colossal or
and I think like Dusk is the only thing I've played against that I didn't have a good time playing it. Like I think I won like 4 tough matches. I think like that I was like cared if I won those last year, like in the entirety of the year, and the rest of them I was getting my butt kicked playing different stuff. Dusk was the only time I didn't have fun.
Sorry.
And I think I'm like, I have it, but I'm not playing it because I want to see how it shakes out, and I want to play Roll Guard. But I worry that Crix might be that new thing that's not fun to play against.
It doesn't seem that bad. Playing Crix into Dusk, right? It hasn't seemed that bad. Dusk has had. I mean, granted, we'll see, right? Like more and more stuff keeps coming out, and like we just picked up the Necro Harvester. Haven't played with the night or the a lot of the newer stuff, the terrors and all them, but like there's some stuff in there. But playing against Dusk, when I especially learning the new Crix, it'd be like, oh, that's crazy. Yeah, my guy's speed 9. He's gonna charge 12, but he's also got a 3-inch range, and if you hit him, he hits you back, and he's gonna do 3 dice of damage, and your armor's halved. And I'm like, brother, what can't they do? Like what you know what? Like what can't they do? And I haven't noticed that with Crix as much yet. So like, I mean, we'll see, right?
You haven't gotten into the bonkers things with Crix yet. I'll say that much.
Yeah.
The Crix.
I think especially like I think Crix is just really good, but it also the potential to face a skew. Like both lists they bring could be skew lists that you might not even be able to handle one of those skews. So like not even
I did notice
Crix can skew super hard like either way.
Like I think Crix could just win in the list building, which I don't think happens a lot in War Machine, but I think it's gonna happen with Crix. That's my
we'll definitely have to see. I definitely see exactly like I'm picturing lists right now that would skew super hard to like be really difficult to deal with.
Oh, you can't kill 40 dudes that I can keep bringing back? Womp womp.
Oh no, how could this happen?
So yeah, my top 5. I would be biased to say Dusk. Hopefully the nerfs aren't too bad. I know they're bound to be nerfs. Like there's no way there's not. Dusk get nerfed, but I still want Dusk up there. I think Crix is going to be up there. I think it's too early to say Gravediggers. We obviously saw the little oopsies, but we don't know how much is going to change, so I won't even put them on there. But I think they're going to be pretty interesting. Orgoth will be number 3. My hot takes, so it's Dusk, Crix, Orgoth, top 3.
Yep.
My hot takes are going to be Brine Bloods, Okay. I think they're going to get some buffs or something. It's going to make them really good. And I think the dark horse that's going to just rule everybody's day is going to be Chimera. They're going to dump on everybody.
Oh, I didn't even think about Chimera. Yeah, I might have to switch Infernals for Chimera in my.
No, it's too late. Actually, it's too late, buddy. I wrote it down.
Oh no, please.
Now that you say that, every time I go into a Chimera game, I think it's going to be like, I got this. I know what I need to do. And then I either lose it, like it doesn't, like they always sleep on me, and it's happened so many times.
Yep, that is exactly what happened to me. Yeah. It was Rasik got me because he went way aggressive, and I was like, I got your ass now, dog. And then he hit me with retaliation, and I was like, please.
Yeah,
I killed everything that I sent to you.
I've played into Chimera a bunch, and like Dusk currently, as of current rule set, has an okay matchup into a Chimera. Like I know what I need to do. I drop Moraine and I try to kill your Wyvern. Pretty simple. Pending changes, I don't know what I do. Please don't hurt Dusk too bad. I want to keep playing them.
Man, somebody definitely loves Dusk. Like
beforehand, like with when they first dropped, they were not great. The whole rule set would have come out. Then they got their buff, and I was like, all right, this is silly. And they kept getting cool, silly things. And I was like, all right, this is a bit much. So I think, and from all the things I'm hearing in the whispers of the warp or whatever the private War Machine has, all the changes are awesome. That's all I've been told is that they're good and they're even. Everything I'm hearing is even, and I'm like, all right, I love that.
Yeah, I have faith. Like I think one of the big things I like about it is the balance. I have a lot of faith in the January patch. Like I don't know. I'm pretty sure that Legion will probably still suck, but I have faith that like all the Mark IV factions will be good. I think the good Legacy factions will stay good probably.
Yep. And then speaking of the January patch, after the January patch, after I get back from Captain Con, this will be after LVO happens, after Captain Con when I get back, we're going to do a faction tier list. We're going to be one of those cool hip YouTubers and do a faction tier list. So yeah, we're going to go over, and then we'll compare them to these predictions to see where we stacked up.
I think it'll be good.
Yep.
Did I tell you I got my hands on a Scar 3?
No.
Yeah, that's so dope. I'm gonna play Roll for like the first half, and then I'll probably switch to Old's Cricks for the second half. I'm gonna ride Legacy factions until I can.
Nice. Yeah, that kind of wraps up our episode just because of time frame. We want to keep going, but time frame's a time frame. We do have work tomorrow. We are normal human beings.
Not me. I'm degenerate.
Well, yeah, you work from home. Must be nice.
It sucks. Like it's hard, man.
It's got its pros and cons.
But it sucks.
Pros and cons.
It'd probably be awesome if you didn't have a wife and kids. I love my wife and kids, but.
Quick little wrap up keynotes for upcoming channel things. We'll be on a 2 or 3 week break because of holidays, Christmas. I wish all of you a happy Christmas, whatever you celebrate, or just enjoy the time off. Spend some time with family, paint some models, just relax, reset. That's what the end of the year is for. I'll be doing that, so I'm taking 2 weeks off of that. I will have some YouTube shorts that I'll pre-make and kind of upload every once in a while. Otherwise than that, we will see you all in the new year. Thank you all for listening. Matt, thank you for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me. This was fun.
Is there anywhere that they want to find you online aside from Hobbynomicon?
No, I've linked everything there. I'm Matt Gilbert in like every Discord. I think that's it. If you go to the site, like I try to make sure. I don't think I did this yet, but I'll put like ways of contacting me on the site. That'd be a good idea.
Cool. And then we have the Discord down below. Join it. Help us improve it. Help us grow that community and help us see that goal.
Jump in and say, hey,
And then Ross, if you want to hit us with one of your fantastic outros.
Hey, the classic. Yeah, obviously, I got you, dude. Hey, if you're still here, thank you so much. We appreciate y'all for tuning in. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe. Have a great holiday, and we look forward to seeing you again. Keep on the lookout. We've got some shorts and some paints coming up. Keep on the lookout. Thanks for tuning in, and I hope y'all have a great night, week, and holiday. Love y'all, and have a good one.
See ya.